Hey YouTube family. So I know y'all seen a previous video of me filleting a turkey to get turkey wings and turkey legs, you know, if you don't want to make a whole big turkey. But like I was telling you, I was going to come back and do another video of what you can do with the excess turkey meat if you're not cooking the full turkey, and especially if you don't want a whole turkey to go to waste. We need to start storing up as much meat as we can. Meat, fish, chicken, poultry, you know, all the protein that we can right now while we still have access to it, because with everything going on in our world, we don't know when we won't be able to have access to meat, you know, to the proteins that we are so privileged to have now. So I am going to be pressure canning my turkey meat, the rest of my turkey. Surprisingly, if you see my other video, I had two of them. The smaller one was harder than the bigger one. It was easier for me to cut up the bigger one, taking the wings and the legs off, than the smaller one. But the rest of this turkey meat, I'm chopping it down. I'm putting it in a pan. I'm going to season it up, and then I am going to pressure can it. And what I wanted to tell you all, because I know some people use knives. I ordered me some new knives, but if you don't have sharp knives, this could be so much harder. So if you don't have sharp knives, get you some sharp knives. But you can also use scissors, guys. Scissors will make your life so much easier. Let me just show y'all how I am going to just like snip away. Snip, snip, snip. You're gonna cut around the bone. Cut around that bone area. This will make your life so much easier. And I use scissors that are cooking scissors. I don't use like my house scissors. I have a knife set and it comes with like the scissors. So I would suggest, you know, using scissors that are, you know, good for just cooking, that you want to just keep in the kitchen for cooking. You want to be sanitary. So you see how that meat is just coming right off that carcass? It's just coming right off as I slide my scissors down in there and snip away. It's just coming right off. It's coming off pretty quickly. This thing is heavy. So, as I get this whole thing off, I'm gonna be cutting them into strips. Okay, you see how I just got into all of that, and I'm about to take the whole rest of this breast off. Once again, guys, if you haven't seen the previous video, make sure that you sanitize your turkey by just like soaking it in water with vinegar. And that's like your cleanest solution for your meats. You can clean meat that way with just some vinegar and water. And make sure your counter, if you're using your countertop, make sure you clean your countertop off real good, because you know, we just want to be sanitary. All right, and so now I'm at the last little part here. I don't like to keep too much of the skin on, even though I know some fat is good, but I'm trying to get rid of fat. If you know what I mean. So I don't need too much fat. So I'm gonna cut some of this skin off. And look at this beautiful turkey breast. Big old turkey breast. A lot of excess meat. And I'm gonna chop this all up anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's like not perfectly cut. But you see, I am just like filleting down the rest of this big old turkey that I had. I had a huge turkey. This was like a 25-pounder or something like that. So yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing with the rest of this. I'm just gonna chop it up, which is gonna make my life so much easier. Okay, and then we are going to get this pressure canned up, seasoned and pressure canned up. Okay guys, so I have finished filleting the turkeys. I got both turkeys chopped up, and now I am getting ready to start the pressure canning process. I done chopped these wings and these legs up. I'm gonna marinate those, and that's gonna be what we do for Thanksgiving. This is gonna be our Thanksgiving turkey, not a whole turkey. But the rest of the turkey, like I told y'all, we need to start preserving our meat. I am gonna pressure can the rest of this. Now, I have already seasoned it. I chopped it up into like strips, like little strips, little chunks. You know, you could chop them up however you like. Here you can see, come a little closer. Here you can see all this goodness of seasoning on here. I use for this pan, because I don't want all my jars to be the same flavor of meat. So for this pan is gonna be this Caribbean jerk. I'm gonna do some jerk turkey chunks, pressure can that up. I also use fine Himalayan pink salt. You can't use any kind of salt. Well, you can use, you know, excuse me, whatever kind of herbs and spices that you like. But it's important. You can use a canning salt. I do have a canning salt that I use as well sometimes, but I'm using pink Himalayan salt because of the minerals and the health benefits to natural salt. Or there's Redmond's, there's kosher salt. Okay, so iodized salt is not the best salt for canning, for pressure canning. So this is pink salt that I have in there with the jerk seasoning. You want to make sure if you use a packet like this of your favorite kind of seasoning, whatever you're going to use, you want to make sure it doesn't have cornstarch or flour in there, because that can mess up your canning process over time when it's in the, you know, because we're making shelf stable food, right? Just in case we don't have refrigerators and electricity, power outage, grid down situation. We want to keep this stuff shelf stable to preserve for a long period. So you want to make sure it doesn't have flour or cornstarch in your seasonings, whatever you're using. So sometimes the best thing to just use is like some salt, a little bit of spices that you might like, whatever you want to use. But I use some ground black pepper and some garlic salt. Y'all, the Dollar Tree be having some good seasoning sometimes. So I grabbed some of that garlic salt, and I got some onion powder in this one. So just really basic, this here, basic. And then this one is with the jerk seasoning. These are, I'm gonna do my turkey wings with this. This is really good, marinate. And I'm gonna do some honey jerk turkey wings for Thanksgiving, y'all. They gonna be so bomb. But yeah, so this is a good jerk. I'm gonna use it the hot and the mild. I like to mix them. But you know, I'm gonna let those marinate for the next, you know, until Thursday morning, and get those cooked up, those turkey wings. But I'm gonna get these into the jars, and that's what we are about to do right now as we go through this quick demonstration of the pressure canning process. Y'all, so I just realized that I do not have the lids that I need for the wide mouth jars. It matters the lids that you use. Trust me, I've learned the hard way from experience. You want to use a good brand of lids. So now I gotta run to the store, hoping and praying that they have the wide mouth, because there's two different size jars. I'm gonna show y'all in a second. But it's two different types of jars. You either got the regular mouth or the wide mouth. The wide mouth is easier. The wide mouth is easier to manage because then you could, you know, fit more stuff in there. But I gotta run to the store, y'all. So inconvenience. Make sure you got, and these are not a brand new pack of jars. Those jars was used before, so that's why I gotta go get more lids. It's always good to keep extra lids on hand when you are starting to pressure can your own food, okay? So I just left Walmart and they had the lids. Thank you, Jesus. Now back to the canning. Okay, guys, so back to business. All right, so I have both of my pans of meat ready to go into the the jars. I have already cleaned my jars in the dishwasher. I'm only gonna take a couple of them out at a time and get some of them stuffed up, and then I'll take some out as I need them. But you, like I said before, you always want to make sure your jars are cleaned. You want to make sure your lids are clean, and so you can put your lids in some water with vinegar, especially if they're new lids, and soak them up. I'll show you guys in just 1 second. But right now we're gonna just start getting some of these jars stuffed up. Okay, so these are all seasoned, and I'm gonna just fill all of these up. Normally, if you have hot food, if it's called hot packing will go into warm jars. Like if your jars are hot, you want to make sure everything is the same temperature. So if you have hot food, you're putting it in hot glasses, warm glasses. If you have cold food, you put it in cold glasses. The water in your temperature, your canner, which I'll show you in a minute. If the food is hot, you want to start warming up. If your jars and your food is hot, you want to start warming up the water on the stove. If it's not hot, you just put it in there with lukewarm water and you turn everything on at the same time. So I'll show y'all that in a second. But right now we just filling up these jars. Normally if you're dealing with something with liquid, we would debubble, but this is meat. We just pressure canning some good old turkey, and we just need to stuff it down in there. It's going to create its own liquid, so I don't need to put any liquid in here, because it's going to create its own liquid when it's pressurizing in the canner. So we're going to get as many of these stuffed up as possible. And you always want to do up into a 1/4 inch space, all the way to the shoulder. Leave an inch space, a 1/2 inch head space here. So always stuff it up to that little shoulder part, right about there. And then I'm gonna get all of these stuffed up. I'm gonna speed this up so y'all don't gotta sit here and watch me stuff all of these jars. But this is about right. And then we'll go to the next step after that. All right, guys, so as you can see, I have my jars filled. It filled up about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So now sometimes you won't have enough meat and it'll have like a half a jar, which is fine. It is fine to have a half a jar of meat. I like to have all my jars filled up. So what I'm gonna do is cut some of this meat off from the turkey wings and the turkey leg that I had a real big one in here, because I just like to fill up my jars. Now if you don't have the extra meat, that's fine. You're just gonna keep going. You want to make sure you stuff the meat all the way down in there, because remember, we're not debubbling this because this is raw packed meat, and meat, we don't need like liquid for that because it's going to create its own liquid. So I'm just stuffing some of this meat. Now see, some people like to put the seasoning on top. Like they'll put the liquid in there or put the seasoning right on top of the finished product after the jar is already filled. I like to already season my meat up because I want the flavor all through the jar. I like some flavor all through, so I want mine to be flavorful. So I seasoned the meat before I put it in the jar. But you could also just put it in there raw. Without season, and then just put the seasoning on top, like a little salt, whatever you're gonna put in there. You could just put it right on top, and that'll do too. So it's really, you know, your preference. But I'm just cutting these up. Did I tell y'all should be using scissors sometimes, you know, just to make your life easier, because it makes my life so much easier. So I'm using scissors to cut up this. Remember, this is the cooking scissors I'm using. So now these are all at a heavy bowl of chicken. These are all at a 1/4 inch head space. I mean, there's a 1/2 inch head space in all of the jars. Now I know which ones are my jerk and I know which ones are the plain because they look different, but you can mark it so that way you know if you have different flavors, you could, you know, you gotta pay attention so that way you don't get your jars mixed up. So that, because once you put the lids on after they finish pressurizing, you're gonna have to mark it and write on the top. That way you know what it is. All right, so the next step will be, we are going to clean off our lids. Now what I did here was I had my tops soaking in some hot water. I cleaned them with soap and water. You want to make sure you have clean tops always. And you don't too much want to touch the tops, because if any kind of residue get on there, let me let y'all see me for a second. If any residue get on the tops, they won't seal, because we're about to clean off the lids. You have to clean off the rim, these tops. You're gonna have to clean off the top of the jars with some vinegar. You can use, you know, water, but it may not clean it good. You might have some type of fat up there from the food, from the chicken, from the meat, whatever your pressure canning. And if you have any type of fat left on the top of these rims, your lids won't seal. So I clean mine with vinegar, because vinegar is going to get all that extra excess fat off. This canning set will make your life easier too. If you know, if people who've been canning for a long time, they don't use the, you know, probably the utensils. I use them. I haven't been canning for a long, like years and years and years, but I've been canning for a few years now, and I still use some of these things. Like this is a funnel. If you're using anything with liquid, you can always put it on top, like a soup or something that you might be pressure canning. But that's just meat, so I just stuffed them in there. This is a debubbler. This is what we would have been using if we were dealing with liquid, and you would just go in there and get the bubbles out. But right now we don't need that. This is the magnet, and this is what we use. It's upside down. Most people use it the wrong way, but this is the right way to use it. You use this to pick up the cans, because when they come out of the canner, it's going to be really hot. So you just pick them up with these. So this is good for the lids, because if your hands are not clean and they got grease on it or anything on it, and you touch these lids, they're not going to seal. So it's easier to just pick it up with this. It's a magnet. It'll pick it up, and then you place it on with this magnet. All right. So that's the stuff those are the utensils we're going to use. Now to clean, the next step that we are going to do is clean off these lids. You just take a napkin, and then you get yourself a little vinegar. You only need a drop. The excess vinegar can go inside the canner, because it's going to keep the jars from getting cloudy. Cloudy is like this white foam that might come on the jars if you don't put vinegar. So that's what the vinegar is for. You put a splash in there, but you don't have to do that. It's really not that necessary. So now we're gonna just take this, dip it in the napkin, dip the napkin in the vinegar, and then go around your lids. I like to extra go around there, make sure I like scrub off all of that stuff. You know what I normally do first? This is what I do first. I like to take a rag, because you see how I got some, I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty much seasoning all stuck on top. And because I seasoned mine up real good. So I like to take a rag and go around it first with just a rag. Clean it off real good. You know, get it off. Clean all of them like that. Oh, uh-oh. Can't afford to lose no jaws. All right, clean that off. Gotta put a little arm work into it. Okay, so, and 7 of these fit into my canner. I have a 22 quart canner, and 7 of them fit into my canner. They have different size pressure canners. If you have never gotten a canner yet, if you don't have a pressure canner, Tefal is a really easy one to start off when you're trying to learn. They have the All American. They have many different brands, different kinds. I think that's a little bit more complex, the All American. I've never used that one. So yeah, once you finish wiping down all of the lids, let me stress how important it is to make sure that your lids, let me rinse the rag out real quick. Rinse this rag out. Let me stress how important it is to clean off these lids, because these tops, because if you don't, your lid may not seal. This solution that's around this lid here, once it's pressurizing, it's gonna stick to it. The compound that's on here is going to make it like as if you know how you buy a can of anything from the store. This is what this is going to do with this jar. It's going to suck out all of the air that's in here as it's pressurizing to keep your food shelf stable, safe. It's gonna get all that air out, and you need this to stick. You want that to stick on the jar. All right, so now we are going to go around the lids now with the vinegar. Okay, sometimes there's a false seal. Sometimes it doesn't seal, so that's why you want to make sure you do this good. Sometimes you're just gonna have mistakes with canning. Like, sometimes things just happen, you know. But if you try to do everything the right way, correctly, you have a better chance of having the outcome that you want. But yeah, this is the process of preserving y'all food, guys, because if, like I said, there's ever a time we can't get to meat from the grocery stores because there's like crazy shortages and the world is in complete chaos, at least you have some shelf stable meat for you and your family that y'all can eat. And you'll know if it goes rancid. Going rancid is if you open it up and it smells bad, or it look like something is wrong with it. Sometimes it'll pop up if you don't have good lids. That's why I only use the ball ones now. I think Kerr is a good brand too, but I have never used the Kerr one. The Ball brand is a really good brand. The Ball brand is good. I haven't had anything unsealed, but the Walmart brand, those popped up on me, so I don't buy those no more. All right, so once this process is finished, where's the magnet? Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put these on, and then I'm gonna get the rings and put the rings up there, because now we getting our lids up there. Remember, you don't want to touch that solution, this brown solution, especially if your hands are not clean, because you do not want it to not seal. So, why this don't look brand new? I just bought these. Something weird with that one. Ball. I will come for y'all. Y'all giving us bad lids, but I don't know. Anyway, so now that part is done, the rings. Now, with the rings, I gotta go get some more. But with the rings, you wanna put the rings on finger tight. So finger tight is when you twist it, you don't wanna twist it too hard. You do not wanna crank it up, too hard. You just want to twist it so that it twists, and then you see how easy it was for me to untwist it? Finger tight. You don't want to do it too tight because then it can't pressurize. It has to be able to pressurize, and then it's gonna seal itself. You'll hear it pop when it's sealing. You'll know. I'll show you guys what it will likely sound like when it pops. Make sure I get everything off of there. I don't know. But yeah, so you're gonna do all of your lids finger tight. Finger tight, guys. Not too tight, just finger tight. Meaning you could untwist it with your fingers. Okay. All of these are finger tight. All right, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we have all of our rings on, all of the rings are on. Now we're gonna take about a liter of water, 1.5 liters, depending on the size of your pressure canner. The instructions will be on the guide. You pour about 1 liter. For mine, it needs about 1 liter, 1.5 liters, 2 liters. I'm gonna put a little bit more. It needs about 2 liters, I would say, of water in that 22, 23 quart pressure canner, because you don't want you don't want the water to be full, like nowhere near full to the top, and you don't want it to be, you see, it's still at the bottom. I'm gonna add just a little bit more, because when you put your jars in, it's gonna make the water rise as well. But it's literally just to steam it, because remember, it's going through like a it's pressurizing it. So you always want to make sure you have it should never be touching the bottom, because they're going to jiggle, they're going to shake, and you don't want it to break. You don't want your jars to break. So it comes with this rack that's always supposed to sit at the bottom. If you're doing pints, they come with 2, because mine's comes with 2, because you could do pints where it would have some on the bottom, and then you put the rack on top of it, and then you could sit the pints on top of the rack. So it'll be 2 rows. It's 2 rows of pint size. But we only have our quarts. I'm gonna just show you how you pick it up. This is really, you use this when you're taking it out, but I'm gonna show you what I do to put it in. So you see how that's going in, and you see how the water is literally at the bottom. It's not nowhere in the middle of the jars, none of that. You could put a little bit more. I think I might add a little bit more water, but I want to see how much it's gonna rise. So I'm gonna get all of these in here. I'm gonna put my jerk turkey next to each other. Keep it on that side. Only had 3 jars of the jerk ones. Okay, you see that's 6 in there. 6 in there so far, and 1 will go right here in the middle. Right there in the middle. Okay, so remember, everything is all the same temperature. That's so important. Every part of these steps are very important, because your jars can break. If you have it the wrong temperature, the jars can break. So you want everything to be the same temperature. I'm gonna put the rest of this little vinegar right in that water. It got enough water in there. The water looks right. Okay, so now that everything is in there, we're just gonna get the top on there. I gotta mine has to, the way it has to come up. Give me 1 second. All right, so now I'm putting the top on. Had to get a little assistance. All right, so now you have, this has to come in, bring it over here. these is arrows here where they have to align with one another. This arrow that's on there and this arrow have to align. So once you get it like that, you'll hear it, and then all right, Nick, go back, and then you can see the whole thing now. Now you just click it just like that, and then once it's in there, that's locked and sealed. Ooh, what's that noise? Oh, I forgot how to pan it up. I'm about to say, what is that? But yeah, so now it's locked and sealed, and then you want to get your pressure up, so it has to go high. Just put it up really high because you got to get it steamy. It has to get super steamy. So I have mine up high. Then what's gonna happen is, you come here, this dial, all right, so you see this right here, this is like the weight, but this is not. So with a Tefal, we don't use weights. It just uses this gauge here. This gauge, this is like considered your weight, but it twists. That's why I said it's easier, because they have like a 5 or 10 pound and a 50 pound. Depending on your altitude, you have to find your altitude for where you are. And it'll tell you what you need to be pressure. It's a lot of, see, I don't want this to be confusing. I got to go into depth more with these videos. Pressure canning, if you're a beginner, but depending on your altitude, you are going to pressure can on either 5 pounds, 10 pounds, or 15 pounds. Me, because I am in New Jersey, my altitude, I'm on 2. So, but right now it's on steam. I have to keep it on this steam right here. It's gonna, this white dot should align with this steam button. Then once the steam comes out, you're gonna let it, it's gonna be really steamy. I'm gonna show y'all. Once it's steaming for 10 full minutes, it has to steam for 10 full minutes. You have to get the air, you have to let that pressure come out. Once it's steamed for 10 full minutes, then I'm gonna turn it on the 2. It's gonna go on 2. Then once this gauge here goes up to the 2, that's when I start the timer for 90 minutes. And then you have to literally let it pressure cook for the 90 minutes, because this is bone out. Bone in for quartz would be 75 minutes. Bone in. So if it had bones, if it was like chicken legs or something like that, bone in 75 minutes with quartz. Bone out, so raw meat, like raw meat, no bones, it's 90 minutes. So it would be 90 minutes for this, because these don't have bones. It's not like little chicken wings or little turkey wings or anything. So 90 minutes, but that gauge has to go up to 2. So you don't start the timer up until it gets to the 2. Until it gets to that 2, that's when we start the timer. So it's gonna start here with the pressure. Once again, it's gonna pressure, you're gonna keep it on this steam. It's gonna start steaming. I'll let you know what it needs to look like once it starts steaming, because it has to be really steamy, and you're gonna let that go for 10 full minutes. So once it gets there, we'll be back. Okay, so now it is getting to that point where it is now steaming. Do you see that steam? That steam coming out? Now it's gonna get real high and real loud, like it's gonna, you need it to do that for 10 minutes. It's getting there. Some people say, oh, it's okay for it to be like that for 10 minutes. No, I like to let that steam, because this part is important. When you letting out all the pressure that's in here, that's from all that heat, from it being up high, it needs to steam up. It needs to get all of that steam out. Then we're gonna lock the steam in. The science behind it is, the first part of the air that's in there, they have to, it's pressurizing that, for all that air that was in there before the lid was in there, it's getting out that air. It's getting out that air. I'm not a scientist, let me not try to explain that, but basically all of that, it's important for all of that air to come out. It needs to steam out, and then it needs to do that for 10 minutes. And then you are going to lock in all of that heat that's going to be in there after it steams out for 10 minutes. So that's about to happen. I'm over here seasoning up my turkey wings, making honey jerk turkey wings on Thanksgiving. But yeah, see, it now is okay. So now I like the way that sound. It sounds the way I need it to sound. I hear the water boiling in there. Now I'm going to start my 10 minutes. So now I'm going to let it do this for 10 minutes. And then in 10 minutes, we're going to turn it up until the 2. In 10 minutes. For 10 minutes it needs to steam. Okay, so it has officially been 10 minutes. You see how it's okay if it's a little steam coming out from that side. But it's officially been 10 minutes since this has been on. Ouch, be careful. Ooh, be careful not to touch that. That thing is hot. Make sure it's on steam. It's steaming. Now we turn it to 2. You see how I stopped that steam? Now all that steam is going to build up into this pressure canner. And now we're gonna watch this gauge rise up into the 2. It takes about 10 minutes, maybe, sometimes 15. It depends. But you want to keep it at a sweet, it's going to be, you need to keep, the gauge needs to always stay on the 2. It should never go too much above the 2. And it can never drop underneath that 2. So these little dots in between, I don't know if y'all could see it, but as long as it's somewhere around the 2, it's fine. If it ever drops underneath pressure, which means the heat, you might lose heat, and if it drops underneath that 2 significantly, you got to start the whole process over. So that's why you have to make sure it stays on that 2. That gauge, the whole 90 minutes, this gauge needs to stay on the 2. Do you see that it's starting to rise? It's going to start rising. It's going to start slowly rising. It rises slowly, and then it's going to eventually reach that 2. And it's like little blocks. It's like 3 blocks around the 2. It could go a block over, a block or 2 over. That's fine, but it should never drop significantly under that 2, or you got to start that whole process over. That's very important, because then it's not doing the job of what it needs to do for you to have to be able to preserve your meat, whatever your pressure canning. You're not going to be able to preserve it and keep it on your shelf. It's not going to do its job inside the jar, taking out all the excess air. So once it gets to that 2, start your timer for 90 minutes. If you have no bones in the meat, or if you have bones in the meat, it's 75 minutes for the quarts. Pint size is different times. You also can always look on your guide. Whatever your pressure canning, they have a guide. They have a manual. And you can always check your manual for whatever it is, whatever kind of meat you're cooking. It'll give you the instructions on what meats take what amount of time, and so forth and so on. So, all right, it's going up. It's rising slowly. Yeah, so once it gets to the 2, 90 minutes, and I'll start my timer as soon as it gets to the 2. And then I'll show you the finished product. All right, it is just now touching that 2. So now, yes, the 90 minutes starts officially now. Okay, so it just stopped. The 90 minutes are up. I just cut the stove off, and now, as you can see, the pressure is still up. It's still at the 2, even though the fire is off. I cut the stove off. So now what's going to happen now is the pressure has to naturally come down. We don't want to touch this yet. We don't want to do nothing to it yet. You definitely don't want to turn that gauge to the steam, because you want to keep that pressure in it, because it has to naturally come down. So that way your jars, it has to slowly come to temperature. You can't change the temperature of the jars so soon, because then they could break. You could get siphoning, which is losing liquid. Many things can happen. So you want to keep this just where it's at, preferably overnight. Right now it's what, 10:48, almost 11 o'clock. So I could leave this right here just like this to the morning time, and it'd be fine. The longer you let it sit, the better. But if you're in a rush to see how it looks, you know, at least wait till this gauge comes all the way, drops all the way down to that bar, back all the way down. It has to come all the way down. Then you're gonna put it on the steam, turn it to steam. Then you can open it up and take them out. But you don't want to change the temperature to your jar so fast, because it can definitely cause siphoning, which is you losing liquid. So now we're just gonna wait for this to drop, and then I'm going to show you guys what they are looking like. Okay, so it has officially stopped. The gauge went all the way down to 0. I put the pressure down, put the pressure on steam over here, this gauge. Okay, so now I let it sit for a little while, and now I'm gonna take this top off. Let me show you how to do it so the hot water, the hot water doesn't drip on you. When you do that, it should be unlocked, because sometimes it'll stay locked, and you're just gonna lift it. You see all that steam? Let that drip go in there, because if you let it get on you, you're gonna burn yourself. And then you take it down. See, it is still very, very hot. Look, they are still boiled. Do you see all that juice in there? It's beautiful. I used to crack jars so much because I used to do it wrong when I first started. But when you do it the right way, you don't have cracked jars. And when you use better quality jars, because these are ball jars. All right, I think some of them started sealing already. Yeah, some of them started sealing. Oh, one just popped. When you hear that, that means it just sealed. When you hear that pop that you just heard, that means that one just sealed. Okay, so let's move this over here. Okay, thank you. All right. And I'm gonna take the rest of them out. Make sure you don't let it drip up. That one just sealed. That just sealed. Try not to put it on something cold. You want to put it on something warm, like a towel or something. I put it on my deep freeze, on one of my deep freezers with a towel over it to keep it nice and warm. My arm hurt. This thing is heavy. You see all the liquid? All the liquid, all the juice in these. That's why when you do roll pack, you don't need to put any liquid, because it's going to create its own liquid. No siphoning. Siphoning is when you lose liquid and then it is like half liquid in there. All right, and that's the last one in there. But they are still bubbly hot. Up, another one just popped. That's how you know, guys, when y'all hear those, when you hear that pop. Let me lightly get this on. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. They popping. I was gonna say don't touch it, because you don't want to cause them to sink in on its own. See, this one hasn't popped yet. You see that little button? That's how you know that it did not seal. Usually, and this one hasn't sealed yet either. When you see it sink in, you hear those pops, just like this one. This one sunk in. That one sunk in. That one sunk in. This one sunk in. Those little buttons. These little buttons. I want y'all to see the difference. That one is a sunken button. This one is still popped up. These two didn't pop. These two didn't seal yet. But the rest of these are sealed. The rest of these are sealed. Sometimes, guys, don't worry if it doesn't seal right away. Sometimes it'll happen overnight. You know, sometimes it may take a while. But generally, they usually, as soon as you take them, That one just popped. That one just sealed. When they start sealing, try not to touch it. Don't ever push it in. Let it do it on its own, because you don't want it to be a false seal. And to keep these temperatures, like keep them nice and warm and hot coming down. Up, there it go. There it go. It just sealed. Oh, it's a beautiful thing when all of your jars seal. I love it. All right, guys, and there you have it. Some pressure canned turkey meat, poultry. I've been saying meat all the time. It's technically poultry. But yes, let's store up as much poultry, meat, all the protein as we can. But thank you guys for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will be back with more.